Straighten the arms up. Take up lots of space, open the arms. Hey everyone, welcome to class and welcome to this edition of your Yoga for Emojis. This is for those of you who feel super incredibly tight, stiff as a robot. Before we jump in, you're gonna need two props. One is a chair or just anything that's pretty sturdy. I mean, if you have, it doesn't matter. For any furniture around you that's about this high is fine. And then I'm using a strap. And if you don't have one of these, grab a towel that's just long enough. Like a hand towel, honestly, is probably okay. Now, we're also doing something kind of new and fun, and that's that if you want a little bit of a music playlist to go along with this class, I'm going to drop my Spotify link in the description below for a podcast, a playlist, not a podcast, a playlist, but I also have a podcast, a playlist that will go along with it. So you can check that out in the description below. So let's go ahead and jump in. The first thing you're going to need is your chair. So just move your towel or your strap off to the side for now. You don't need it right away. Take your left foot up to the surface of your chair or whatever you're using and just take a big breath in, stand up tall. And I want you to take your right hand to your left thigh and open up the left arm. So if opening up the left arm is too much, you can also just keep it on the hip. But what you're going for here is just a little bit of opening through the chest, maybe through the shoulder. And then you should also feel this sort of wringing out sensation through the spine, through the back. And if your breath is labored, if your breath is a little bit challenged here, just turn a little bit less open. Doesn't have to be that far. And remember to breathe as you're here. Take 2 more breaths. Release back towards the center. Let's switch sides. So just step your left foot down, bring your right foot up. So your knees should be over the ankle, over the toes. Make sure that you feel stable in the left leg. Inhale, stand up tall. Exhale, twist over the right shoulder. And again, if you feel like your breath gets restricted, just close it up a little bit. It doesn't have to be that deep of a twist. Continue to breathe. Take 2 more breaths here. And exhale, release back towards the center. So you're going to have 2 options for the next little stretch we're going to do. I'm going to turn the chair around. So turn it so that the taller part is facing you to start. So a lot of times we feel like we need to stretch the backs of our legs, like the hamstrings and the calves, but touching your toes might be really rather difficult. So holding on to something that's higher, like a chair, walk your hips back so that your arms have to reach to touch the chair, but your ankles are under the hips. And then just start to fold yourself down. Try to keep your back really long and straight. You can bend the knees if it's too much. And you're also getting a little bit of chest and shoulder opening here too. Now, if you're more flexible and that doesn't really feel like enough for you, you can turn your chair back around and hold on to this lower side and fold like this. And you can rest your head on the chair too. So either way is up to you. We're just going to take a few moments here. So pick which level feels better. Take 2 more breaths. And then go ahead and sit up. So let's use our chair. We're going to sit down. Let's see. Just trying to decide what's the best way you can see me. So I'm going to turn facing my back to you so that you can see. But before I sit, we'll show you standing. So the next thing we're going to do is for the shoulders. And like I said, you can sit down, be comfortable, make sure you have enough space behind you so you're not leaning up against the chair, you're kind of sitting away from it. You can also do this sitting on the floor. So you're going to take your towel or your strap or your belt, whatever you have, in one hand, reach one end up, bend the elbow. So now you have the other end just sort of hanging down behind you. You're going to reach your left hand back and just hold on to the other end of that towel. And if you need more of an intense stretch, you can start to pull the left hand down so that the right arm feels like it's getting a little bit longer. And of course, if you feel like this isn't enough, you can gradually walk the left hand closer to the right. So any variation is fine. What you're looking for is length through the right tricep. So between like the armpit and the elbow, and a little bit of opening through the chest. Take 2 more breaths. And go ahead and come out. And we're going to switch sides. So moving to the other side, we're going to do the same thing. I'll stand just so you can see initially. Take one end of your towel, just hold it in your hand, reach the left arm up, bend the elbow. So now the rest of the towel or whatever you're using is hanging down behind you. Just take your right hand behind you, grab wherever you can. Then you can slowly start to pull the right hand down, or maybe you start to walk the hand higher up. So again, this is really easy to modify as you get more comfortable with this shape to make it more challenging, make it more difficult, so you get more out of it. But once you find a place that you can just sort of settle, we're going to take a few breaths just like we did on the other side. Take 2 more rounds of breath. And gently let go. So now we're going to come off of our chairs. We're done using those. You can just move it off to the side. And go ahead and have a seat. So instead of actually sitting down, I actually want you to bring your hands under your shoulders. There we go. Hands under your shoulders, knees right under your hips. And we'll take a few rounds of cat-cow. So just rounding the back, dropping the head as you exhale. And as you inhale, drop the belly, bring the chest up. Do a couple more like that. Try to move with your breath, creating space between the shoulder blades here, then squeezing them together, lengthening through the front side of the body. Take 1 more each way, round, and inhale, come through. Good. So from here, we're going to take the right knee and bring it forward so that you end up sitting down on your hips. So you can just sort of plop off to one side onto your right side. You're going to bend the left knee so that the hip is just straight out to the side. And then your right knee is going to face forward. So it feels a little awkward. Think of sitting in like a Z shape. Where you're going to feel this, especially if you're very tight, is going to be probably the front of the left hip, like almost into the groin a little bit. Then maybe in the outer right hip, you might feel something. If this is enough, if you feel plenty right where you are, you can just stay put. If you feel like you can maybe go a little bit further, you can lean forward and take the hands down. So here again, we're just trying to soften the hips a little bit, try to relax the lower half of the body. Most people tend to get a little bit restricted around the hips, especially like if you end up with back pain sometimes. A lot of times that comes from the hips. It can come from plenty of other places too, but if your hips are very tight, that's not doing you any favors. So you're going to take a few more breaths. On your next breath in, just lean back to where you started. You can bring the left foot forward, cross the ankles, just roll over the feet and move back to that tabletop shape where your wrists are under the shoulders, knees are under the hips. Let's take a few more rounds of cat-cow. Rounding, inhale, exhale, inhale. Take one more each way. And come back to neutral. So another way to get into that shape we were just in is just sort of sit down on your left side. Bring your left knee forward. Your right knee points out to the right. So you end up in this sort of Z shape. Again, staying here if this is plenty. What are you looking for? A little bit of length, a little bit of a stretchy feeling through the front of the right hip, maybe into the groin. In the left leg, you might feel less, you might feel more in the outer hip. You can stay put, or you can start to fold forward. When you fold forward, you'll get a little bit more of that sensation in the outer left hip. And take a couple more breaths. And inhale, walk the hands in. Take your right leg and bring it forward. I want you to stretch both legs out in front of you. Have your strap or your towel nearby. So if sitting here just isn't going to happen because you end up in this shape, just bend the knees enough so that you can sit up tall. And you're gonna help yourself out with the towel too. So you're gonna wrap your towel or whatever you have around the feet so you can hold on a bit. Sit up nice and tall. And then as you exhale, just reach the chest towards the toes. And you can walk the hands further down if you need to be a little bit closer. And again, just like we did earlier, this is one of those things that's really easy to make more challenging as you get better at it. So you can just start to slide the heels forward and start to bring yourself closer to the feet. So the knees can be as bent as you need them to be. And you don't have to be anywhere near the toes. Just take a couple more breaths. And when you're ready, go ahead and let go. Bend the knees, turn towards me. Just sit evenly on the hips, relax the shoulders. On your next breath in, big circle, the arms way up overhead, take up lots of space. Exhale the hands down. Pay attention. We're gonna retrace our steps, straighten the arms up. Take up lots of space, open the arms. Inhale straight up. Hands together, exhale down. One more retrace, inhale. Open up. And bring the hands together. Take a couple breaths here. And when you're ready, let the eyes blink open. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining me for class today. If you liked this and you want more yoga classes, maybe something longer, more full length, check out my digital studio at studio.badyogi.com. And if you want something more comprehensive, I walk you through everything, no need to figure out what class to do next. Check out one of my comprehensive 8 to 12 week programs, the Perfect Body programs, which I'll also link to in the description below. Thank you so much for being here today. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you right back here next time.